Okay, hi everyone. It's hard to take it from Patricia, and it's hard to conclude on a positive note because I'm a humanitarian aid worker. There's literally nothing positive about what I do, about who we are, except that we help people. But other than that, there's nothing fun about us. I'm going to switch between English and Arabic. It's interesting that what Patricia mentioned and everyone mentioned, that we all mentioned war. And being a humanitarian aid worker, I'm based in Lebanon, but I cover a few regional things. I chose to be in war. I chose to work for people who are in conflict zones or are affected by conflict, like in Lebanon, in Palestinian camps at Sawamat Noura, in a lot of these places. I chose to be there. And so my story started there about 4 years ago when the Syrian crisis kind of really peaked. That's when I said, okay, this is what I have to do, this is my calling. And I joined the side and I became a humanitarian aid worker and I started roaming Lebanon. It's interesting that you mentioned Hakaya because my story takes place there. I was at the borders, I was in Palestinian camps, I started working in a regional cell when Yemen started, and then I started with Mosul, Iraq. And I'm part of a communication department. So I get all the raw footage, I get all the raw photos, I see things, I know that I chose to do this thing, so I chose to do this, so I chose to see this. I didn't really expect to see what I saw. When Mosul kind of fell and everything, I was the first to see the footage, to see what happened. Syria, a lot of the areas, a lot of the things that happen that don't go to the media, they come to me still. I still see it. I have colleagues in the ground there and they show me everything. So for 2.5 years, I was kind of on the front line in Lebanon, on the borders, in the camps, everywhere. We were the first to go in. I don't know if you guys know Beit Tabani, Jabal Mahsen in Tripoli. We were the first to go in after the clashes. Actually, the clashes hadn't ended there, and we were there. Last year, around when maybe you can tell about it, but when the clashes erupted in Ain al-Hilwa, in the Palestinian camps, we were there as well. So here in Lebanon, I was in those areas. I was also receiving the footage from Mosul, from Yemen, from Taz. You don't want to see what I saw. And I realized it was starting to take a toll on me. For one thing, I stopped sleeping. Sleep is important. So you should sleep. When you stop sleeping, you should pay attention. But I was thinking to myself, I was going to this person who was, let's say, they're living in an informal tented settlement. That's the humanitarian aid worker word for a camp, a tent. They didn't have a bed. 12 people shared one room. I still went back and I had a bed. I had a bedroom for my own. I had an apartment. I had 2 houses. I had a summer house. So really, you can't sleep. Really, am I allowed to complain at this point? Not really. Another time I met a father who told me about how long it took him to escape Syria from Aleppo. They had to hide in a truck that was filled with cow poop, actually. They hid under the cow poop, him and his pregnant wife and their neighbors, and one of them was in a wheelchair. At one point, they had to abandon him because they couldn't carry him anymore, and they made it all the way here to Lebanon, to a place called, it's in Beirut somewhere. I had to listen to what happened to them when they were almost discovered, when they were discovered, when they had to leave behind that kid, and when they came here. I got upset, obviously, but then I thought, you know what? I'm driving my 2015 car back home, and I'm taking my mom to my summer house. So really, am I allowed to complain if I can't sleep? It's fine. I also had to listen to a mother talk about how she was holding her daughter's hand in Beit Tabani when a sniper shot a bullet through her daughter's heart. And she collected all the newspaper clippings about the news of her daughter. And when she started telling me these things, she just moved her shirt and started taking all the newspaper clippings and telling me about these. The minute that Fatima died, and I never forget a name. You never forget their names. You remember all their names. So, and then I went back home and I also couldn't sleep, but I thought, you know what? At least I can go hug my mom. I am with my friends. I'm going to AUB, I'm a student. You know what? Am I really allowed to complain about not sleeping? This went on for approximately 2.5 years. I didn't sleep for like 7 months. And when I say I don't sleep, I didn't manage to get some sleep, but it catches up to you. I started making some mistakes. I started cutting off, halfway when I'm talking to someone, I would stop and forget what I was saying. Driving became almost like an adventure every day. Like, would I make it? Would I not make it? People started noticing I was losing weight. People started noticing that, obviously I have big eyes, so if you have dark circles under my eyes, people can see that. People started noticing that my hair was falling off, but it was fine because I chose this. And at the end of the day, I still had a house, I still had a bed, I still had my mom, I still had my dad, my brother, my friends, my school, my car. I had everything. Who the hell was I to complain about not sleeping when at the end of the day, I was still sitting across someone who had been through hell and was just looking at me. And I chose this. I mean, who am I to complain? Like, I chose this. I willingly said, I want to be this person. And I became this person. Who am I to complain? One day, we were going to Al-Qa, as Brooke mentioned. This was in 2016. There was a little girl, her name is Aya. Again, you never forget names. Aya is a Syrian refugee from Homs. Aya put her hand in a machine that her dad was like kind of churning food for the chickens. They lived at a chicken farm. Brooke mentioned this, that the Lebanese and Syrian community there are like really integrated, and it's just beautiful to watch because they don't say like Lebanese, Syrian. It's something else. It's a different world up there. And Aya put her hand in the machine, and the machine cut off Aya's 3 fingers and part of her hand. It took Aya's family 10 hours to get her to a hospital because no hospital would take her in because they didn't have money. At the end, she ended up with us. I'm International Red Cross, by the way, if you're wondering which side I work for. And we treated her, and I was going there to speak to her family and everything. When I was there, it was like maybe 8 months into my no-sleep phase, and everything was visible. I was working, we were on the borders, the armed fighters were on the other side, we had permission, we were filming, I had my crew, everything was set. Khalas, I can do it, I can focus, Aya's in front of me. The chicken farm, I can hear the chickens, perfect lighting, perfect everything. It was the perfect day for me to just do my job, go back home, not complain, because who am I to complain? I go in to the farm, because Aya used to love playing on the farm, and that's how she got hurt. I go in, and the first thing I do is I step on a chicken. I don't know why they call people who are cowards chicken, because chickens fight back. That chicken fought back, and I don't know if I had friends, but they pecked me. And I was wearing like these white pants, and all of a sudden my legs are bleeding. It was just like 2 pecks, but I was bleeding. So I looked at my legs and I'm like, okay, that's one hell of a chicken. And I move again, and I step on another chicken. And apparently at this point, I think the chickens kind of caught, okay, this person shouldn't be here. And so they attacked me again and they pecked me again. Don't call someone a chicken when someone's a coward, because I didn't see that. I'm like, okay. So anyway, I step out of the farm because I started bleeding, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go sit there. It's like overlooking Syria. I'm just gonna sit there in the bushes and see what to do. I lift up my pants and I'm cleaning the wounds, and Aya walks in. Aya doesn't speak much. Since the accident, she had stopped talking, but she kind of like says a few words here and there. She comes up to me and she says, "You're bleeding." Of course, all of this is in Arabic. I'm like, yeah, I'm clumsy. But I had like kind of rolled up my pants, and she could see bruises on my knees because I hadn't been sleeping. I had been walking into a lot of things. I bumped my elbow, bumped my arm, kind of burned my hand, cooking. So I kind of like, I looked like a mess. And she said, "You're bleeding here. You have a bruise here. You're hurt here. Your hand's burned here. Your eyes, like they're dark. Are you hurt everywhere?" And it's weird that she asked that because my answer was like, yes, inside, outside, here, everywhere. Everything hurts. But who am I to complain? Aya has lost 3 fingers. Her right hand will never be the same. She's living on a chicken farm. Had the war not taken place, she wouldn't be living on that chicken farm. She wouldn't have lost her fingers. She'd still be fine. She'd still be in school. She's not in school. Her brother wouldn't be working at the age of 13, but he has to work because they have to make money. So who am I to complain about a few bumps and bruises and everything? And I told her, well, you know when you tell the kid, like, you have to take care of yourself. I wasn't taking care of myself. And she said, and she said it, I'm going to say it in Arabic, then translate it. She said, بس اهتم بحالك. ماما بتقول مين رح يهتم فيك إذا ما بتهتم بحالك. And this came from a kid, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I need a moment. And then I looked at the kid, and I'm like, Aya, and I didn't know what to say, and I started crying. And I cried, and I cried, and I cried. And the first thing they tell you when you're a humanitarian aid worker is that don't cry. Because whoever's sitting across of you has it much worse than you. And who are you to cry and complain that you can't sleep? That whenever you close your eyes, you see the images that you see. Whenever you close your eyes, you remember all the names, all the stories that the people told you. And they're not just 1 or 2 stories. They're the stories of this kid, of Fatima, of Aya, of Nasib, of Samir, of even Noura. Everyone's stories. They just come to you. But who am I to complain? Because they tell you, don't complain. You're still better off than everyone else. So my peace, my reconciliation, my making peace wasn't with someone else, wasn't with Aya, wasn't with, she made me cry, but it's fine, I love her anyway. It wasn't with any of these people, it was with myself. It was saying, maybe it's time to talk about the fact that I didn't sleep for 7 months. Maybe it's time to talk about the fact, about the bruises on my knees, on the inside, as Aya described it, about all the bruises, inside out, the burns, the bleeding. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's not who am I to complain. Maybe it's why shouldn't I complain? And I can tell you, it's been 1.5 years since I decided, okay, now I need help and maybe it's time for me to sleep again. And I can't say it's been easy and I can't say I'm there yet and I can't say I've made peace and this is a success story. But at least I've tried and I don't know how to end this on a positive note, but I'm still trying. I've made peace with chicken. I still like chicken. And yeah, I guess that's my story. So, yeah.